Hi everyone, my name is Simran Sagoo. My pronouns are she and her, and my engineering discipline was aerospace. I graduated in 2022, and my favorite memory from aerospace would be learning to work in the CATIA workshops. I really love 3D design, and that was one of my favorite things. And a fun fact about myself is that I got tickets to the Taylor Swift concert in 2024. Yeah, I would say don't overwhelm yourself, because your first year is it's overwhelming to begin with. All the changes, all the transitioning that you have to do, it's a lot. So I tried to do things in my first year, but I could not do it. I had to drop basically all my extracurriculars. I think, working a part-time job, or I started a part-time job in the second semester. But the first semester, I kind of just was like, no, I need to figure out what's going on with school. And then once you kind of get into that groove and you feel like you're getting okay, like you're getting a little more confident in your schoolwork, kind of what you're doing, then I would take the step to join the design teams and put yourself out there a little bit more. Just because the last thing you want to do is burnout. And I feel like all engineers face that to a certain extent. Just because of the amount of work we have to do, a lot of people commute to downtown Toronto, and it can be very difficult to feel like you need to do everything. You don't need to do everything all at once. You can do things one at a time. Summer school is an option. Breaking up your third year, a lot of people do, is an option. But I understand that's also not financially feasible for everybody. But it does come down to knowing what's best for you. Some people love that they have the ability to splitting their third year into two, and now their school year becomes 5 years. Totally okay with that. I did that. I loved it. I thought it was a very smart decision, because your third year is your hardest year with the content that you're learning. But at the same time, some people just want to do school and get it over with. And that's totally fine as well. Not everybody is a school person. Not everyone wants to be in school forever. And it's just, everything comes down to balance. It's about finding that balance in your life, what and when you can do everything, because there is time for everything. You just have to find it. And it's not a lot of time, but it's there. And if the design teams and all these extracurriculars, you do and you give what you can. All these people are run by students. They know that. You give what you can, and I think all student groups will be accepting of the fact that, hey, I can only give 1 hour every 2 weeks. I think people would be okay with that, and I think that's fine. It was joining the groups definitely helped with that, and it was knowing that the community I was in was there to help me, not bring me down. For the longest time, I felt like I didn't belong, because I was in aerospace specifically, I think I graduated with maybe 10 girls, 15 maximum. It's very hard to feel like when you go in and you're I'm so excited to learn about this, but then your classmates are talking about this new engine that came out, and you're like, what are you talking about? I don't keep up with that. That stuff, I don't watch these things all day long. I have other hobbies. Aerospace is not my life. Aerospace is not my hobby, I have things I like outside of that. And I always felt because I didn't know those certain things, that I didn't belong, or I couldn't feel like a part of the group. And learning that it's okay to have different hobbies outside of your school, learning that it's okay to have fun outside of school, was when it really changed for me. And that's when I started feeling more confident in myself. I'm yeah, just because I don't know whatever this new landing gear that came out doesn't mean that I don't belong here any less than anyone else. So it's learning that I'm yeah, I can do well in school. I do good in group projects. My ability to know these fun facts isn't dictating whether I belong here or not. I would say having a good support system, whether that be family, friends, it really helps you get in that right mindset, because if you feel like you're constantly around people that you don't fit in with, you don't belong with, that can feel very isolating. But making sure that whether or not that support group is at school, at home, wherever, I think it's very important to have one regardless, and that really helps you bring out that confidence in yourself, helping you believe in yourself. So I think that was the two things. The biggest would be getting outside of my comfort zone and joining those groups. And the second thing is making sure you have a support system that you can rely on for when those times get hard and when you feel like you don't belong, because you need those pick-me-ups. Engineering is very tough, and it gets hard to continue being motivated. So yeah, having that support, going out disassociating yourself from school a little bit. All those things are ultimately going to help you be better at school, at work. During my interview at Pratt Whitney, my soft skills are what got me that job, not my technical skills. Because I first had an interview and they were like, okay, she's great, but she didn't really talk on her technical side. And then they asked for another interview where that was only technical based. And I'm like, yeah, you're in engineering, you pick up on things, but I know I'm not like a technical person who has all these like equations memorized or like all this kind of stuff. But during that interview, he's like, the manager at that time had given me the feedback that I was like, you weren't cocky, you didn't act like you knew everything, you admit it when you didn't, and they're like, you are showing that you have the ability to learn. And he's like, yeah, you got some things wrong, but I wanted to just kind of gauge your train of thought, how you kind of came to these answers. He's like, to me, that was more important than you getting the right answer or wrong answer. He was like, you show that you want to work, you want to learn, and ultimately you seem, based off your experience, like with Cassie Hyperloop, that you have the ability to grow and learn different things. So that's ultimately what got me the job, not my technical skills. I would say communication is one of them, verbal and written. There's a lot of report writing that comes with Pratt & Whitney, so make sure you know how to write reports. I would say communication during meetings and stuff is important, being confident in your answers. One thing that my managers love from the start is that something that usually takes people a year to build confidence within, I was like confident from the start. I was like talking in the meetings, I was asking questions right from the start, and they were like surprised that I was doing that. So, you know, that shows that exactly I was willing to learn, and I'm here to stay. It's not like, okay, I'm just trying to like get this on my resume and leave. And when a company hires you, the first year at least is just them investing in you and training you. Like, I spent a year in a role, and it took me about 8 months to get familiar with the role before I started doing things by myself. So that to the company is an investment, because right now 2 people are working on something that 1 person should technically be working on. So I would say those 2 things for sure. I actually never had a co-op before Pratt & Whitney, and it's a very big company in the aerospace industry in Canada. And everyone's surprised that you didn't have a co-op and you got in. And I'm like, it comes back to the same thing. It was my involvement with the groups, and they saw my potential to communicate. And yeah, I'm not a big technical person, but that all came back around. So I'm telling you, your soft skills matter just as much as your technical skills, if not sometimes more. I would say the hardest part for me would be making mistakes, just because there's a lot on the line. You shouldn't be afraid to make the mistakes, but sometimes I get a little scared of the severity of the mistakes that are made, just because for us, like, if you make a mistake on an engine and it goes to a customer, you're like, there's like how many people's lives at risk here? Like, it's that responsibility with our ethics that come in, that everything that you do health and safety needs to come first. So I feel like that is the hardest part, that you can make mistakes, but just make sure they get caught. Like, then it doesn't end up in the wrong hands, doing something bad or harming anybody, you know, like ultimately that's why we have the iron rings as well. So I would say that is the hardest part. I would say go to class, do your homework, but have fun. It really is hard, and no one is denying the fact that you might be struggling, but at the end of the day, figure out what's right for you, whether it's engineering, whether it's not. Change is okay. Figuring out if you don't like something is okay. Don't feel like you're ever forced or pressured to do anything. At the end of the day, it's your life, and enjoy it the best you can. Study, work hard, but have fun doing it.